Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So one of the things that Obama did right when he was in office was, I guess, making the case that the internet should not be constrained in that way, essentially rules on net neutrality. Well, with Trump in office, of course, the policy is not necessarily, and to be fair, this wasn't even a policy with Obama. I mean, under Obama, it was markets first. But there was a major uproar over this thing of doing anything to the internet that might in some way constrain service and make the internet less fair and less free. Tech companies, in many respects, represent Democrats or backup Democrats. And those tech companies howled and bitched. And the public, for the most part, howled and bitched. And it was this point of, wait a minute, why are you altering rules, or why are you making rules that in some way going to adversely affect people, small businesses, and just people in general, the overwhelming majority of the population? Well, Trump gets in office, and he's craven, and ultimately they put somebody at the head of the FCC that's going to get rid of those rules. This is Reuters. The head of the Federal Communications Commission is set to unveil plans next week for the final vote to reverse a landmark 2015 net neutrality order barring the blocking or slowing of the web content. Two people briefed on the plan said. Now, what this means, people always just use the term net neutrality. What this means is you're a company, a service provider. So someone like Verizon can say, we're going to create fast lanes and slow lanes for internet users. So there are going to be some websites that make the fast lane. There may be some that get the slow lane. Some of this is going to depend on whether or not who pays more. So people who with less money to throw around may end up with a slow lane website. Other people with more money to throw around may end up with a fast lane, or faster access, I should say. This is problematic in 2 points. The overwhelming majority of the population doesn't want it. They don't even know what it is. They haven't even paid attention to the fact that something is going to be done to it. So the question becomes, who is this for? Why are you doing this? Like, what's the public outroar? What's the issue? What's the harm? What's the call? What's the thing where you say, this is something that needs to be changed? I need to change this. You had certain businesses, and the only businesses that have access to this stuff, who are saying, hey, we like this idea. But that's only benefiting like 1% of the population. It's not even 1%, it's like 0.1%. It's like 0.1%. So why is it being done? It's being done because some companies will be able to advantage themselves greatly on this particular feature. Also, you also create this situation where you can constrain the content that you don't particularly like. Like, so right now, beforehand, with just television, anybody who's watching for television, for the most part, you're watching one of, 3 or 4 channels. Well, at a certain point, that filtered out. But ultimately, the main channels were still there, and those main channels were still bringing in people. Today, you would have something like CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News getting the majority of the people who are looking at news in this way. Internet undercuts that perspective of the world. Let me say it that way. With internet, you have a wash of perspectives. Some of the people are batshit crazy. Some of the people are more establishment, but ultimately, you don't necessarily have the capacity to catch those people like you could beforehand using television. Now, if you're looking at this from the standpoint of how do we constrain the point of view of the population itself? How do we get a better handle on the point of view of the population? Something like this will give you the ability to turn down the speeds on certain sites and increase the speed on others. That's a problem. That's a problem. I mean, ultimately, you're talking about a constraint on free speech. And the reason, and you must understand why I said it's a constraint on free speech. If the internet, right now, if you go to a site, you go to a site. They don't have the capacity to turn down the speed on a particular site because they don't necessarily like what that particular site is saying. You add in these type of rules, all bets are off. All bets are off. If there's a site that's saying something that that particular company doesn't necessarily like, will that particular company slow down that site? I'm talking about service providers at this point. If they're saying something that is adversely affecting their interests, their business, will they turn down the speed of those sites? They will have the capacity to do so with this ruling. Now, before you say, well, dude, that's not going to happen, that's a conspiracy theory. During the election, Twitter was getting rid of some of the tweets that people were putting out that went against their candidate. So did Facebook. So did Google. All of those companies took it upon themselves to shadow ban or to get rid of content that they didn't necessarily like that went against their political interests. Are you telling me that service providers are going to have some higher level of integrity than Facebook, Google, and Twitter? Right now, at this very moment, there's certain things from RT. Google is talking about deprioritizing RT so it doesn't show up as fast in the search results. Facebook and Twitter, again, is still using shadow banning to get rid of certain content that Facebook and Google, Twitter doesn't like. Now you're giving the FCC the capacity to do the same thing, but from the standpoint of the site itself. Meaning we're going to turn down the speeds on this site, but we're going to up the speeds on this other site. People should be listening to this other site anyway. We don't know why they're listening to the content that goes against the narrative that we're trying to put out. Yeah, I'm going to put this Reuters article. Let's see. In May, the FCC voted 2-1 in advance of Republican FCC Chairman Ajay Pai planned to withdraw the former Obama administration's order reclassifying internet service providers as if they were utilities. Pai now plans to hold a final vote on the proposal on December 14th, the People said, and roll out details of the plan next week. Pai asked in May for the comment on whether the FCC has authority on or should keep any regulation limiting internet providers' ability to block, throttle, or offer fast lanes to some websites known as paid prioritization. Some industry officials told Reuters they expect Pai to drop those specific legal requirements but retain some transparency requirements under the law. Like I said, some sites have fast lanes, some sites get blocked, some sites get limited. Fuck free speech. Fucks free speech. Internet providers including AT&T, Comcast, Verizon Communications say ending the rules could spark billions in additional broadband investment and eliminate the possibility of a future administration could regulate internet pricing. That's just for them. Like, I'm just trying to nail this point down. This is not for you. This is just for them. You get nothing out of this. They get everything out of this. Ultimately, they are going to have the power to shape reality. Let's say it that way. They're going to have the power to shape reality. Critics say the move could harm consumers, small business, and access to the internet. In July, a group representing a major technology firms, including Alphabet, Facebook, urged Pai to drop their plans to rescind the rules. Advocate groups called Free Press and Wednesday will learn the gory details in the next few days, but we know that Pai intends to dismantle the basic protections that have fueled internet growth. You have a new company, you're trying to start an internet business, and these guys are like, hey, if you want the fast lane service, it's going to cost this much. If you want just a regular service, it's going to cost this much. The growth, that's called charging you more money to get the sites that you would typically go to. Well, yeah, there you go. And think of all the small business that won't necessarily be able to afford what these guys are going to force them to try to pay for access and service. This rule is horrid. This rule in no way helps you. This rule only helps like 0.1% of the population. Again, I keep asking Trump supporters, what of this that you love? What if this is the, it's like, what's the thing? What's the thing that you like? It's what's the breaking point where you look at this and say, okay, this guy's not in my best interest. This guy's purely doing things for his own personal interest. What is that point? What is that point? They're getting rid of, they're going to put in place things that is going to directly harm small businesses. The reason why Alphabet and these other companies are getting involved in this is because that's going to hurt their business. They're going to have to end up paying more for the same service that they have now. Not to mention, you're putting a situation where these guys could knuckle them for more money, more cash, and all this stuff. This is horrible, man. This is nothing for us. This does everything for them. So I will leave it at that. I will put the article at the bottom. The conspiracy theory part of me thinks part of this is to attack free speech, but we'll see. I mean, in every other capacity where a company was given the opportunity to limit or cut out certain speech that it didn't particularly like, and I'm talking about the big three, Facebook, Twitter, and Google, they took the opportunity to do so. You're going to give these guys that power on not just a website level, but on a service provider level itself. Let's see how it goes. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Look, I don't necessarily know, I don't know how you put pressure on this one. Like, I don't know how you try to dissuade him from doing this. I don't even know how many people in the public know that their service is about to change, that what they know of as the internet is going to fundamentally change. So if you had 10 million people showing up at the FCC bitching about it, maybe. If you had this guy scared that if he went home there was going to be a bomb under his car, because then maybe. If you kind of gathered across that these guys were going to be voted out, the problem is these guys are part of the FCC. It's not a politician per se. The person you would need to vote out is Donald Trump. So yeah, the person you need to vote out is Donald Trump. Get rid of that guy who's in the head of the FCC and pass a law saying you would not fuck with the internet. I will leave it at that. Alright guys, have a good one.